Thank y'all for coming today. Well, I'm excited to introduce our special speaker today. And Kim, my daughter, is here. And she and Gina worked together at Cardiology Associates when Zachary was like born, 2 years old. Zachary's now 30. So they've known each other for a long time. And so Kim was sharing Gina's story with me, and I thought, oh wow, that would be good for her to come and speak to us. And I think it's just great. But Gina was just telling me she's been married to your husband
Tilton
for 43 years.
43 years.
And she's going to tell you her story, but I was looking at, I printed this off, Gina, off of the internet, and I thought, she does a lot of things. I was reading this little article the other day, and it's about the hats that we wear. And we all wear many hats, don't we? You know, one day the hat might be a cleaning hat, or the next day it might be a bicycle hat or whatever, but we all have a lot of different hats that we put on. And so reading through this, Gina has a lot of hats that she wears, so I'm thinking she's going to share that with us. But I think the one paragraph that stuck out to me looking over her bio was, my most rewarding time was being a part of caring for my sweet angel, my mom. Being a caregiver is a hard job, as we all know. Stressful at times, yet very rewarding. And she said, I enjoy every minute of it. So I'm so excited you came today, Gina, to tell us about who you are and what you do and your role as a caregiver for us. So you come and talk to us for a minute. 2 or 3 minutes. You can
That's
have
right. 30 minutes. Not 30 minutes. She wanted me to talk 30 minutes.
But you can talk 30 minutes.
Thank you, of course, Ms. Sandra, for having me. To say this, I used to be the secretary of my church years and years ago before going off to college. And my grandmother would sit like on the second pew, and I would be talking, okay? And I would be talking so fast, just so fast, not knowing that I was talking fast or anything like that. So she told me the next Sunday, she said, Gina, now when you get up there to speak, I need you to slow up. I was like, well, Muddy, I don't know how to do that. She said, when you hear me clearing my throat, you know that you're talking too fast. So, of course, I did that. And to say this, when she passed, I spoke at her funeral. And I was reading, and I was, talking, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden, I heard someone out there. And I thought, oh my God. I knew that was the spirit of her telling me to slow up. It was actually somebody doing it. So if I talk too fast, y'all just slow me up. I've written a couple things down to kind of go over or whatever, and then I'll go into the journey that I have. So, is it still morning? It's still good morning, okay.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, everyone, and a huge thank you, of course, to Ms. Sandra and Kim. It is truly an honor to be here with you all this morning, to speak to you of the most extraordinary people in the world, our caregivers, and to share my journey. Caregiver or caregiving is not a job you apply for, nor is it a role that comes with a clear roadmap. For so many, it begins with a simple moment. A loved one needs help. A parent begins to change. A spouse faces illness, or a friend requires support. And in that moment, without hesitation, you step forward. Now, caregiving is one of the most selfless acts of love and service a person can offer. It means long nights, early mornings, and countless hours where you put someone else's needs before your own. It means patience when you're tired, strength when you feel weak, and compassion even when the day seems to be overwhelming. But caregiving is also something else. It's a sacred work. Because when you comfort someone in their most vulnerable moments, you're offering more than assistance. You're offering dignity. You're offering hope. you're saying with your actions, you're not alone. I want to pause here to acknowledge something important. Caregivers often feel invisible. Society doesn't always see the quiet sacrifices you make, or the toll it can take on your own health, your career, or even your dreams. But let me be clear, we see you today. We honor you, and we thank you. It is also vital to remember that taking care of yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Rest is not weakness, it's strength. Reaching out for help is not failure, it's wisdom. And accepting support does not lessen your love, it sustains it. To every caregiver here, I want you to hear these words. You are making a difference, even on the day it doesn't feel like it. You are appreciated, even when no one says it. And you are deeply loved, even when exhaustion clouds your heart. Now, as we gather here today, may this be a reminder that you're not walking this journey alone. There is a community here, people who understand, who support you, and will celebrate you. So today, we applaud you. We honor your courage, and we thank you for the love and light you bring to the lives of others. No, what's wrong with my voice? My journey as a caregiver is not taking care of me. I am going to tell you what happened to me. Mom, I had her, like she said, she was my sweet little angel. She got sick, I want to say in 2015. She had Alzheimer's. I thought something wasn't right with her, but my dad thought, oh, nothing's wrong with her, but he's with her all the time. So I said, well, Dad, I think something's wrong. She's not remembering, she's not doing this or whatever. So he said, nothing's wrong with her. I said, okay, we'll leave it at that. Because, fathers, they know everything, not just like us. So I said, Dad, let's just see what's going on. Mom was a caregiver for her father. And she was a very good caregiver. Mom took care of her father like, oh my goodness, no one else could do it but her, which was true. No one was good enough to take care of her father. So we went on, and it went on, and I said, Daddy, something's wrong. So sure enough, it was. She had that crazy illness. But being a caregiver, you just don't realize that you are doing something. A lot of times it's in your heart. I love what I do. I love what I did. I love people. So it went on. I said, something's not right, but I've got to take care of my mom. I've got to see what's going on with her. And my dad was like, oh, there you go again. You think you know everything. Everything is everything that. But when you feel something, God puts things on you sometimes, well, a lot of times, that you don't know what it is. But when something hits you, you have to realize, okay, let me just sit back. I'm listening, God. I might not want to hear, but I'm listening to what you're saying. So it went on. Mom got really sick, wasn't really bad. But I, as far as my journey, taking care of my mother, my little angel, I would go to work, take care of my family at home, which was just my husband, the kids were already gone. Went by their house to check on them because my dad felt like nobody can take care of them but me. I have one brother, I think at the time he was in Chicago or New York, wherever he lives, I think it was in New York. So I would call him and say, hey, look, this is what's going on, blah, 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 whatever. And he would be here. If I need him right there, he'll jump on the plane, he's here. Kim, you know that. Mm-hmm. So I felt like something was going on. So I just kept moving, I kept doing this, I kept moving. I said, well, you know what? I'm not tired, but I was tired. I'm not, I've got to do these things because there's no one else out here to do it but for me. So the ladies at the church, they wanted to come by and see my mom. I was very particular about Mom. You had to go through me before you could go to their house. I had to make sure she was all dressed. I had to make sure her hair was done. Mom was a first grade teacher. She had a master's degree in education, and she was always dressed. Kim, always dressed. I mean,
to the T.
To the T. So I had to make sure, and I got off work one day, and there was a lot of cars in the yard. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what's wrong? So the church ladies was at the house. And I said, now, Daddy, why are they here? just not letting them, whatever. They were trying to be nice, of course, but the protocol was to come through the daughter first, okay? And so they did, and my dad thought, oh, it's okay, but it wasn't okay. Because men sometimes, thank goodness we don't have any here today, but they don't know that we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared, lipstick, hair, everything to be done. Because sometimes, some sweet church ladies, none here, they might go and they were like, oh, Miss Doris, she just didn't have her hair done. She didn't have her lipstick on. And I wouldn't have wanted that to be. So once that happened, my dad understood me, where I was coming from. He understood, okay, I've got to have my wife just ready. Nobody can come unless they go through Gina. So with all that being said, he was a very good caregiver. He took care of her the best that he could. Now, he couldn't cook. He couldn't cook at all. So I would make sure there was food there for them, because I would stop. It was on my way home. I would stop by there to make sure everything was good. So one day, I was at work. I worked at Cardiology Associates. And I was back in my office. I didn't really feel well. I didn't know what it was. I wasn't sure. And I said, oh my goodness, maybe my sugar level was a little low. I might need to go to Chick-fil-A and get me one of those lemonade milkshakes, okay? So I proceeded to walk out the door, and I just felt a little woozy. I just felt a little woozy, and I thought, it's probably my sugar. That's probably what it is. Now, mind you, I was supposed to be going to my granddaughter's field trip that next day on a bus of children. Okay, and I was like, okay, I only have one granddaughter, and at the time, I think it was 5 grandsons. We have 6 now. So I said, let me just go to Chick-fil-A and get me this. So I proceeded to go to the car, which was fine, no chest pains, nothing was going on. I just felt like this. But my girlfriend was no longer with us, and I'm sitting in the lobby in the chair before I went outside because I really couldn't move. And don't think I'm crazy or anything, but it's okay, but it happened. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting down, and this cloud came over me. Not sure what it was, and her name was Kim. Kim said, she kept doing me like this. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not ready to go with you. Kim had passed years ago, but I saw her, and I said, God, what are you trying to tell me? I'm not ready to go. Spiritually, yes. Mentally, physically, I'm not ready to go. So I said, Kim, just go back where you came from. Just go on back home. So she left. I got out of this bubble, and I went to the car, and I went and got the milkshake. It was very good. When I got back to the office, one of the girls said, Miss Gina, what's wrong? I said, girl, I don't know. She said, well, I'm going to call one of the girls back here so they can check your blood pressure. I'm like, okay. And they called, they said, come to back here where I was, where they were. And I said, I really don't feel like doing that. You all come to my office, okay? So they came to my office, and remind you, I worked at Cardiology Associates. They came to my office, and they said, we're going to take you to the exam room and check your blood pressure and all that. I'm like, okay, now I'm thinking I've got to go because I've got to get ready for this field trip with my granddaughter. They put me on the table. They did the EKG. My blood pressure was sky high, but my heart rate was 138. Wow. Anybody knows that's too high. Mm-hmm. So they immediately wanted to take me back and give me some medicine to bring me back in rhythm. And I said, now I know that we're not going to do this here in the office. Let's just go to the hospital. Now I'm thinking still, I've got this thing I got to go to tomorrow. I can't do that. I can't disappoint her. So behold, I get to the hospital. One of the girls that worked there, she took me to the hospital, called my husband, put me on the table. They shocked me twice to get me back in rhythm. And I'm like, this is really happening. I'm really dying. I'm like, okay, Kim, I know you came to me, I told you to go away, but Lord, please come, please, and see, come on here. All of a sudden, I saw the 2 doctors standing at my door that I worked with forever. And when you are with someone for a long period of time, you know their expression. You know what it means. So I'm like, oh God, is it time, please? I'm ready, but I'm not ready. I've got things to do, all this. So he looked at the ER doctor and he said, don't shock her anymore. I was like, oh my God, I'm really going. And I said, what am I? And I kept looking at them like that, and they were like this. because I knew the expression on their face. So to make a long story short, again, he said, we're gonna take her upstairs. I said, okay, I'm going to the intensive care. Found out that I had blood clots in both lungs, multiple blood clots, and then one in my leg. So I asked him later, I said, Stan, what was his last name? I'm so used to calling him Stan.
I forgot his last name already.
Anyway, Dr. Stan, I always call him Stan, not around anybody. But he said, Gina, when I first saw you lying in that bed, I knew you had blood clots. And I'm like, how did you know that? He said, well, I've been doing it so long, but your symptoms just mimic blood clots versus anything else. So I was in there, it was my birthday time. I think I was in there, I was discharged the day after my birthday. I'm not gonna tell you what my birthday year was at the time, age. But I was afraid because I should not be here today because of those things. So if anybody knows anything about blood clots, they're not good if they don't catch them, because you could just instantly go like that. So I said, Lord, you left me here for a reason, and I'm gonna listen to whatever you have to say all the time, which I always did, but it just brought it to me that I really gotta listen to him. So it went on. My dad was home with my mom, and I called him because I would go over there every Wednesday for sure. And I said, hey, Dad, I'm at the hospital, I'm in intensive care, and I'm not gonna come over there tonight. He said, what's going on? He was very calm. I said, well, and I explained to him what happened. So the next day in the hospital, here comes my dad on his little walker, came to see about his baby. First thing I said was, who has my mother? He said, don't worry about that. I said, ask, who has my mother? He said, well, I found somebody to keep her. I said, you found somebody to keep her? I didn't met her. Who is she? I don't know her. Gina, she's okay. I didn't know her. I didn't like the idea that he did it and I didn't do it because I was going, totally down the line. So I called. Hello? She said, hello. And I said, and who is this? Of course, it wasn't the proper thing to do because I was calling someone else's house. Yeah. She said, well, I'm sitting here with Mrs. Jones. And I said, well, this is Mrs. Jones's daughter. And who are you? So she went to tell me who she was. She didn't have the background that I wanted her to have, but she was there sitting with my mom. So I told Dad, okay, fine, go back home with her because I don't know this lady or whatever. But with all that being said, I was not taking care of myself. I felt as time went on that something was going on with me, but I didn't have time to sit down and really think about what it was. My breathing wasn't good. I was tired all the time, but I just thought I was fat. And I just needed to sit down and do something, but I could not keep not doing those things because my parents needed me. My mom needed me. My dad needed me. My husband was the best. Oh my gosh, if it wasn't for him, I don't know, because he was always right there, with me. But you have to realize, being a caregiver, you have to take care of yourself. We have so many caregivers. I have a lot of caregivers now that they don't think about this because they don't have time. They don't make the time to think about how they're feeling, just like me. So I can speak on behalf of somebody not caring of themselves, which they should. Also, when you're taking care of someone and you feel like you can do this all by yourself, you can't. You just can't do it. You can be strong, but you just can't do it. So if someone out there saying, hey, Gina, won't you go get your nails done? I forgot to get my nails done, so look at that. Won't you go get your nails done? Won't you go out to eat with your husband? I'll stay here with Mom. I'll stay here with Dad. I'll stay here. Let them do that. You're not the only person that can take care of those people. I thought I could. I thought I was the only one, but you're not. So take those responsibilities to go and take care of yourself. We started a foundation in her honor benefiting caregivers. And I have what we call Alzheimer's caregivers, and I use the caregivers Alzheimer's because that's what she had. But caregivers are caregivers. No matter what illness you have, they're caregivers. So I have probably about 10 that I call or text once a week. Hey, so-and-so, how you doing? Do you need anything? And you know, that's the best thing that they could have. I have them tell me, Gina, I was so down and you sent me this text and I feel better because I didn't think nobody cared about me. I have family right around the corner. They won't come and see or help, call to see if I need anything. Because why? Because they think I can do it. Because I'm walking around like, oh, okay, I'm strong. I can do this. I don't need any help. I can do this. But deep down inside, they can. But if you tell someone that you can't do it, which you're not going to do that, they're going to think, they're weak. I thought they could do this, but they can. Everybody needs some help. I don't care who you are. I don't care how young, how old you are. It doesn't matter. We all need help. When it comes to caregiving, like I say, it's not a job. I love caring for people. I really wanted to start a center or something where I can get the caregivers to drop their family members or whomever it might be off and let them go and do whatever they needed to do. My husband said, Gina, you have to have a limit because you would have a whole lot of people in there, you know. And I was like, I know. So it was best I did. But what we do, we are more of a resource. And so we're having our annual Rockin' Resources for Alzheimer's Caregivers and Healthcare Expo. It's going to be, and it's in the packages here, it's going to be next month at the convention center. And what we do there, we have a lot of vendors to come, home health care vendors. We have wills and trust attorneys, because a lot of times people don't think about wills and trust until it's too late. And that person, that patient or family member, they sometimes can't do anything when they're, you know, you're shaking your head like you know, that they can. So it's best to go ahead. My dad was ex-military. So he had everything just like this. And I'm just like this. And I told my husband years ago, I said, look, baby, I said, we need to go ahead because I don't know if I'm going to outlive you or vice versa. But we need to go ahead and get all of our business in order. So we've got 3 sons, and if anybody knows, sons are so crazy about their mom, and they're not gonna think about anything. So thank goodness they have wives, because I've already told them, be careful with my sons, because they're not gonna know anything. So I'm telling you, you're gonna have to step up. Being a caregiver for me and my husband. So go ahead and get everything in order if it's not in order now. And that's what I tell them. And I've already told them, go ahead and get it in order, because if God calls me today or tomorrow, all they have to do is to go into our file cabinet here. So they don't have to think about anything at all. And because they're not gonna think, the girls are gonna be the ones to think for them. But with all that being said, again, I want you all to know that you are loved, that you're not in here alone, being a caregiver, because it's not an easy job at all. But if you need help, or you think you need help, or you don't even think you need help, but you might need help, call somebody. There are so many people that don't mind coming to help. Help does not mean that you gotta pay somebody financially. Help sometimes pick up the phone and say, hey, Kim, how you feeling today? Are you okay? Do you let's go to lunch. I got somebody that's gonna stay with so-and-so. Let's go to lunch. Let's go get our nails done. Just do something, because strong people, as myself, and I can speak for myself, they're not gonna ask for help. But we have to ask for help. We have to ask for help, because if you don't ask for help, look at me. God left me here for a reason. And I understand that reason now, because I'm giving back to caregivers. Because I know that I should not be here today. Nobody has to tell me that. I know that I should not be here today, but he left me here for a reason. And me being a caregiver and to be able to speak to each of you and to others, to tell them my journey, no one can tell you how to be a caregiver. if you haven't been a caregiver yourself. It's easy to go to a book and say, oh, this is what a caregiver is, this is what, but if you haven't done it, you can't tell me anything. But I've been through it. I am blessed that I went through it. And the reason I'm blessed that I went through it because I can tell somebody my story. Because I had a wonderful mother that was a great caregiver to her father. She would be a caregiver to anybody. She wouldn't care at all. I'll tell you this story. My parents were givers. So there was people at the church that they didn't have as much as my parents did. And so they wanted to give them something, but they didn't want anybody to know it came from them. Most people want the accolades. Oh, so-and-so gave it to, I gave this to them, I gave it to, nobody, you don't need to know that. As long as God knows what you've done or that you're doing, it doesn't matter. Who cares? So they would go and get the packet, I guess it was food boxes or something, for this one particular lady. And this sweet lady, I think she was taking care of her grandkids. So it was probably about 3 kids or whatever. I'm not sure what happened to the parents. But they would be so proud to go over there for this caregiver of these children to give her this food. Never wanted them to know. One day the pastor came to me and said, Gina, your parents wrote a check. I'm like, okay. They might not have wanted you to know. Okay. I think it was like a $5,000 check. I was like, okay. What did they tell you to do with it? Why are you asking me? They wanted me to give it to somebody in the church. I said, well, you know my parents. They are givers. He said that he didn't want me to know, he didn't want them to know where it came from. I said, so you have to abide by his wishes. So Daddy wrote a check, but the guy didn't know who to give it. I mean, the pastor didn't know who to give it to. So I'm like, why are you coming to me? I don't know either, because that part of their lives, they didn't tell me that. So I didn't ask any questions or anything. But I'm saying that is because my parents were givers. They were good caregivers for each other and for their parents. It fell on me being a caregiver. I will always be a caregiver, and I pray to God that somebody's going to care for me when it's time for me. But it's a passion of mine. I love it. I really, really love it. So I think I'm not sure what time it is or anything like that, but I just want to thank everyone for allowing me, and thank you again, Ms. Sandra, for letting me come. I hope I was able to tell you a little bit about my journey, and if you all need anything in the caregiving part, if you need anything, my foundation is there for you. We're good listeners. I've got all the resources and everything that you can think of. I do want you guys to come to the event that I'm having in October, or next month. Please share it, because again, we're not in this alone. You are not a caregiver by yourself, because once you have a family, Kim and I have been knowing each other since, she said Zach called him that he was 2. I mean, we might not talk every day. We might not talk once a month, a year, whatever, but it's family. I consider her family. And so being a caregiver, we have to stick together. So with that being said, I think I'm done, but I do have some things,
Do you want to do this?
yes, we've got some, with all the bags and everything, everybody has a bag, but I have some giveaways. I also have giveaway tickets to the event next month, and then we're also giving the winner one of this little basket on the end. So I thank you guys for letting me come out today. I love what I do. If you all again need anything as far as the caregiving part, please call us. We're partnering with a couple companies here for respite, that our foundation, if you have someone or whatever that you need to go to the respite so you can get a break, they will get it in turn, give us a call, and our foundation actually pays for a couple days, a couple hours for it. And we just want to give back, that's the purpose of our foundation, because my mom and my dad, again, were great caregivers. They were great givers. And it's no way that I will be here, my brother and not do the same. Because I think they will be disappointed. And I love what I do, and I'm gonna keep doing it. And I pray, and y'all pray with me, that when I become whatever, that my kids and somebody else will be a caregiver for me.
I'm calling you.
So thank you guys so much.
You want me to walk around and get their tickets?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.